Hello and welcome to Old School Episode 8 for Friday, June 12th, 2026. My name is Daniel Bader.
And my name is Steven Radosha. Nailed it. Look at you with the numbers.
I did it.
Fantastic.
All the numbers together in one place. You're green. If you're on,
listen, this was not
YouTube, you're green.
This was not intentional. Okay.
I can't
wore the shirt.
actually believe that.
I wore the
so
shirt.
Good.
The shirt was first. All right, this morning, my daughter likes the fact that it's Psycho Bunny. My daughter likes bunny shirt, so I was wearing the bunny shirt. Okay, that started it. Last week, I insist on wired headphones. I don't like wireless headphones. I don't like the earbuds. I don't like any of that stuff. I want a wire that I could plug into a jack. But the problem with that is that I use the same headphones for the podcast as I do just listening to stuff and watching YouTube. So I keep running it over with my desk chair. And I put the jacket, I put the wire in last week. I go to pull it out, and the 100 times it's been run over by my desk chair finally took its toll, and the jack broke off inside the computer. So I'm going wireless. So I pick up the nearest wireless headphones that I had with me today, which was the Fairphone XLs.
Those are the Fairphones. You can
these are the Fairphone XLs.
break those and repair them.
They're supposed to last 10 years, whatever it is. And then the tree is just here. So this is
the Android, your headphones are going to get Android 26.
They 100%. I could change the batteries out, I'm sure. Carbon neutral. I'm wearing the future right now.
You are. You look like you're the future. You are the future of men. If
the
future of
wide.
men look anything like you, we're in good shape.
We are premium shape, and we all can't pull off the Patrick Stewart if they were listening from the first episode. But yes,
okay,
I try my best.
I have a gaming, just on the game on the topic of Patrick Stewart. Are you a gamer? I don't think we've
100%.
about this.
I mean, listen. I get garbage from my wife because my wife's an actual gamer. Okay, she plays real games and RPGs and all this stuff. I'm Call of Duty, Madden, NHL. I'll play some stuff, but she laughs at me because I'm one of those. Yeah, exactly.
But how often do you play games? Like, are you sitting down playing it on a weekly, daily? Like,
yeah, we still have a group that gets together like once or twice a week to roll some COD lobbies, teach these kids how it was back in the day.
What game?
Call of Duty, Black Ops 7.
Okay, I'm just like, which COD? Because there's 12 of
Black
them.
Ops 7. No, the current one. Come on, bro.
Okay.
We're professionals over here.
Okay, so this week, as part of like the many Summer Games Fest showcases and whatnot, there was an announcement about a Star Trek game. And normally when you get an announcement for a Star Trek game, you don't have any reason to look forward to it because it's usually terrible. This one, however, it's called Star Trek Shadow Frontier. And it's by Bloober. So Bloober is this company that remade Silent Hill 2. They're really well known for horror games. Okay, so you play Ro Laren in this game where you crash land on a mystery planet, and it says the planet is serving as a graveyard of crashed spaceships. You must use your tricorder and phaser to navigate a corrupted labyrinth where the alien environment warps reality and plays with your sanity. So, I mean, come on.
Is it horror? Is there some horror involved?
Yeah, it's a psychological horror game set in the Star Trek universe, made by Bloober. Like, what? How did we get this lucky?
Listen, that's legit. I'll play it. I'm a baby though. I can't do scary stuff, but I'll play it.
Oh, I'm such a baby. Like System Shock 2, back when it came out in like 1998, terrified me. So
listen, I tried to Fatal Frame 2, I think it was, on Xbox, original Xbox. So we're not talking graphics that should scare you. Any sort of realism. I couldn't do it.
I still
it's
have
like these creepy images and stuff. No.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't know this one, but that even just from the cover, Fatal Frame 2 looks terrifying.
Freaky, right? Yeah.
I emigrated to Canada in '95, and I stayed with my cousin when we got here before we found a house, and they had a computer in their basement, and they had this. It was like they had all these games. Remember those like FM? What was they called? Full motion video FMV games?
FMV. That was big. No, PlayStation. Yeah.
So they had Phantasmagoria and Seventh Guest. Remember those?
Which ones?
Phantasmagoria and Seventh
Oh,
Guest.
yes. Seventh
Yeah.
Guest, yes.
So both very, very scary games for a 10-year-old. And I still remember feeling scared in that basement room with the door closed and the lights off playing this
See, you
game.
can't do that. You can't do, like, I try to, if I'm playing scary, it is middle of the day, blinds up, like, trying to get as much light, but you can't set yourself up for failure. I mean, I remember being
That's what
scared.
people like. People love that feeling.
I remember being scared. We had a sleepover one time. The kid was like, I don't know what we were, 9 or 10, playing Friday the 13th on the NES, the original. And you get to Jason, and just the ambient music in that game, and just the way you wouldn't know he was on screen, and then all of a sudden he'd pop on screen and pull you in the house. It was very scary. But it was at night. Oh,
That's crazy because back then it was like meaty audio and 8-bit graphics, and the fact that could scare you is pretty amazing.
But I was the only kid at the party that was able to successfully figure out Jason's pattern, and I was doing it. Like, the kids were bringing me sandwiches and stuff because they didn't want me to stop because I was going through this, and I was the only one to get through it.
You're
So,
the kid at the arcade who's like getting to the last level in Frogger. Like, you're
usually not. Like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, like, I was done. Like, I would get to, I don't think I ever got to him. I get knocked out well before that.
okay. You still got time, right? You could find a
I have time.
find a deli somewhere in like Arkansas that has a first generation Punch Out and just go to town. I think I told you this. I went to a random place in Niagara Falls a couple of months ago, and in the basement they had an old school arcade full of like 90s and early 2000s arcade machines. So
that's great.
They had one of those Ridge Racer setups, like OG PlayStation Ridge Racer, but the arcade version.
That's
But it was
great.
all linked together. So you had 4 of them, and you could play together on a single racetrack, which was, I guess, at the time, just like completely it was like completely new. But then they also had the Simpsons game, the beat 'em up. They had the original TMNT beat 'em up.
Oh, that's a good one.
They had everything. It was so fun.
Yeah, that was the bet. When you were 8 or 9 and you got invited to a party, it had to be at an arcade because it was released as, I think, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 or arcade on the NES. But that one where you had the 6 or whatever, 4, I guess it was 4 because we had the 4 Turtles, but I thought it was bigger than that. Maybe the Simpsons one was bigger than that. But you could have, that was when you were going with that and you were throwing coins in there. And the original Ridge Racer was great too because if you'd never played it on a PlayStation, if you're a Gran Turismo person or something where you come in lazy with Forza and stuff like that, there were no driving assists. There was none of this nonsense. You basically, if you were a dope and didn't break where you were supposed to, you hit the wall or you didn't win.
Ridge Racer was really, really hard.
You had to be on it, okay? And that's why these NES games, I think this is where we all started to go sideways, and this is Old Man Yells at Cloud. Those NES games were set up to make you miserable. There was no enjoyment in playing these games. They were meant to suck in your quarters, and that was ported to the home version, and you just sat there and you had to suffer through it.
Yeah, I mean, that culture has sustained itself over the years, right? Like, I remember all this talk of, some of these platforming games. Celeste was a good example of it, which was really, really hard. Recently Silksong came out last year, and everybody was complaining that it was too difficult, right? All these Souls-like games that or all the Souls games in general are just like Bloodborne and Dark Souls. They're so hard, and everybody who's obsessed with them is obsessed with them because they are so difficult and they reward patience and consistency. But I think that push against game difficulty or allowing games to be easy and just having, allowing people to just have fun, that has made a big difference in like how many games are accessible to people, right? Casual games, cozy games, they're all, you don't have to be good at video games to enjoy them anymore. And I think that's a net positive, but I also think because of that, when you have a game like Silksong come out and it's really, really hard, people get mad at it because the expectation is that it should be accessible to everybody in the same way.
No, and there should be variety. There's nothing wrong with that. The cozy games are great. Like if you just want to and I have no problem with even putting like a cinematic mode. Like some of these have cinematic mode where you're basically just watching a movie for a few hours as you kind of mash buttons and push through things. I have no problem with that. But give people the Silk Song, give people these other ones that are like, you know what, if you want to grind out, if you want to earn it, you got a title there that you can really sink your teeth into. And the replayability of those is so much higher. I think, like you said, you obsess about this one boss, you obsess about this one pattern that you haven't quite figured out. I love it. I think that's great.
What was your first console?
NES. NES. So it was NES. I think it was fifth Christmas, something like that. But it was the NES, and I remember it was great because you got the 3 games. You got Mario, you got Duck Hunt, and you got World, whatever it was, Track and Field or something. Right. But with the pad. And the greatest thing, I felt like I was some sort of, I don't know, like I just cracked the Enigma code or something like that in World War II. When I figured out that on the long jump for World Track and Field, I just literally just jumped off the pad to the side, and then before he got to the end, jumped back on the pad.
No,
that was like when I figured that out. That is a cheat, 100%, but I figured it out, and I'm like, this is great. Now, you can't overdo it. If you stayed off the pad for too long, he wouldn't go forever. There'd be like a fault, and he'd just fall over or something like that. Yeah. You had to time it right. So there's some skill involved. But I really liked, I enjoyed figuring that out. So
Duck Hunt still, to this day, feels like magic.
Oh, yeah, the flash and how it doesn't work. I remember the first time when they found out it didn't work on LCD monitors, like because of the way that the way it worked. I was like, wow, that was cool back. That was like next level. That was.
But it's also just like a very specific problem that they solved. They're like, this is the technology that we have right now. How do we build a game around those limitations?
100%. But it was great. When that dog would laugh at you, boy, I don't know how many times I fake shot that dog. I don't know if that's something you could say. I don't know if that. Well, I get some letters. But that dog was taunting. That dog deserved it.
I mean, that's how we learned how to swear. Is when we were coming up swearing at the dog in Duck Hunt. Because it deserved it, that punk.
It deserved it. That punk deserved it when he's laughing at you.
Is there a name?
Dog are you?
Does the dog have a name?
Oh, now I'm going to have to look that up. Maybe they retconned it later. Does the Duck Hunt dog have a name? It's an autocomplete. The iconic dog from the 1984 NES has no official name in the great game credits. He's most commonly referred to as fans in pulp culture as the Laughing Dog.
The Laughing Dog.
Okay. Sometimes affectionately called Mr. Peepers by the community. Excuse me? What community is this? But yeah, the Laughing Dog is the name he was given, but no official name. That tracks back in the day. And they didn't. Nintendo was like, yeah, whatever. That's fine. But
so we got a Mega Drive. So I had a NES. And then
little Genesis action for those of us in the US?
Yeah, but it was called a Mega Drive back then. Because, right. We didn't have the Genesis here. But it was I was like because of that I was a Sega kid. And eventually I kind of came back to Nintendo later on. I had the GameCube, but like I skipped all of those generations. Like I didn't have an N64. I didn't have a Wii. I didn't have the Wii. Like I had the GameCube. Sorry, the Wii came after the GameCube. What was it? It was N64.
N64, GameCube.
GameCube, right, 2001.
Wii U.
Wii U,
Switch. And now Switch.
Right, yeah, okay. So I didn't have any of the Wiis. And I didn't have a 64. My friends all had the 64s. I had a PS1, which was great. I think that was the right decision for that gen.
Okay.
Well, Crash Bandicoot. Crash was, to me, like still the greatest, most enjoyable platformer I think I've ever played. Like, I understand Mario and the hype around like Mario 64, but for me, like I will take Crash Bandicoot. It's a little bit more on rails. But it's like, I think the skill to me is just like second to none. Like it's like the timing needs to be perfect. I loved the kind of like the visceral impact of like crushing enemies and crushing all the boxes and all the power-ups and stuff. It was a bit more frenetic than Mario. And I kind of understand like why maybe that appealed to me back when I was in my early teens, but I don't know. I still have these indelible memories of Crash Bandicoot as like a formative game experience. And I just never had. I played a lot of Mario 64, but I never had that experience.
I guess, and no, I buy that. I think I liked them for different reasons. PlayStation was great. Like I said, racing games, sports titles were phenomenal on the PlayStation because that, like we talked about FMV. Watching, Madden come on with Pat Summerall and do like a live stand-up before I played, as my Miami Dolphins get beat up by whoever, was a fantastic experience. I just felt like they were different, though. I love my PlayStation, but getting – like, the only game I got with my N64 at the time was, GoldenEye and stuff came later. I think that was like a year or so later. There's Mario 64, just being able to dump hours in that and having there were still like little sections. It was sort of on rails, but really not. Kind of that open world experience, just kind of be able to walk around and do things and mess with the penguins and throw them off the side of the hill and whatever else you were doing. That was just a
Psychopath
great
stuff.
Now, I saved the penguin plenty of times before you knock one off accidentally. You're trying to save the baby penguin and give it to the mother. I don't know what the level.
I mean, look, it's like Ice World. Like you're going down the hill. Like
yes, you're going down the hill. Things happen.
Penguins.
Things happen.
Things happen.
Collateral damage. Things happen. In GoldenEye, you're blowing up scientists left and right. Things happen sometimes. You're saving the world out here. What's it? But that game, just putting the amount of hours, it probably still ranks. If I had to guess the amount of just hours in a game, Mario 64 is probably up there. But now, I still like this other game. I thought Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo was a phenomenal experience. Just understanding that Star Fox, just to see the graphics that you could actually do, the FX chip, the big FX chip that they'd include on the cartridge itself, being able to do stuff like that, I thought was really cool. But Genesis I like too. Burst processing, what was the marketing thing back then? Whatever they said that they could get their chip to do, to give it the sonic faster graphics or something like that. That was all cool stuff. All that marketing stuff with the bits and stuff.
Every system had its own like boost pack or memory pack that had like a little, basically like an external GPU for the time.
The Nintendo 64, you plug it right into the RAM expansion. You had the GoldenEye.
Perfect Dark came with one of those, right?
Yep. If it needed it, it came with it. I think. I don't know if GoldenEye needed it or not, but I know the later games
didn't need it.
Didn't need it, but that was great to get that pack in there. And then you had the expansions on the controller itself, the Rumble pack. Oh, the Rumble pack was the ones you could use with GoldenEye, because that was cool. That's when you were kind of shaking around
Rumbles,
and stuff. And
to think like how rudimentary that haptic was back then compared to what it is today. If you like pick up a PS5 controller and you compare or even the Switch 2, right? Like the precision of today's haptics compared to 20, 30 years ago is just incredible.
If I'm misremembering, it was just like a gyro in there that would just spin up or whatever, and then they kind of get that little rumble feeling. I think that was what generated the thing. But yeah, rudiment. Like I'm using the Motorola Edge right now, the new one, and just the haptics on even the phones and stuff, and just the precision of what you're doing, like you said, is just night and day. And what people forget, we don't forget, is that the PlayStation, the DualShock is now just burned into our brains. But there weren't those analog sticks when the PlayStation first came out. The original PS controllers just had the D-pad, and you were trying to navigate 3D environments with a D-pad. It was PlayStation early on but phenomenal system. I still have my PS1. Really great system.
Okay, last question. Before we get into like the meat of it, what is your favorite console controller of all time?
Console controller of all time. Oh God, that's such a tough. Oh man, where do you even start? I didn't hate the N64 controller as much as other people did. I don't think that's the best though. I'll tell you what, people are gonna be like, "What the heck is he talking about?" The second gen Sega Saturn controller that wasn't the big bubbly one. It was like the Genesis 6-button control. If you had the Genesis 6-button, you essentially know what the Sega Saturn one was like. That's what I liked. It was great in the hand. You had plenty of buttons. You had 8 buttons. You had the 2 shoulder buttons and the 6 buttons on the thing itself. Great D-pad. Felt great in the hand. That was a phenomenal controller. I know it's a bit out. That's a deep cut, but
it's a deep cut. But I will say on Reddit, there's a post from 2 years ago on the Sega Saturn subreddit called "Can we all agree the Saturn controller was and still is the best controller ever, at least for 2D games?" So
there you go.
I can't. I mean, I don't. I've never used the Saturn. I literally don't think I've ever played it. But I cannot argue that it was a good controller. I don't have like super strong feelings, but the original Xbox controller I thought was really good. Like
the bubbly one, the big boy,
the big boy. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just because I enjoyed playing Halo so much, and I think I just have like fond memories of playing so much Halo. But like that to me, it's not even like a great controller. It's just that it's a really good. I don't know. It's like it felt right. It felt right for the generation. I think it was
different for sure.
It was a big boy.
The only thing I didn't like about that controller was the positioning of the white and black buttons. And I did think that the second gen, which is basically the design that they still use today, was a really strong. That would probably be my second. The second gen original Xbox controller. But the first one was good. You're right. Unique. You really didn't see anything like it. It was big, but it was perfect for the generation. Kind of big, bold in your face, just like the Xbox's marketing. It was. I'll give it that. It's got some nostalgia value there.
I think it also, like the big X button in the middle, it fit in really well with the aesthetic at the time, because like that. I think like a lot of the first generation Xbox stuff has been lost to history. I think everybody remembers what the PlayStation looked like. The PS2 was iconic, but I think like, and everybody remembers like the Red Ring of Death from the 360. But the original Xbox was kind of even as much of it was like just a black box. Like, I think it was quite cool in a maximalist kind of way. And it was huge. Yeah. The controller, it like reinforced that. But because it was so big, right? You had the dual D-pad, the dual analog sticks. You had the D-pad. You had like multiple buttons. You had a bunch of shoulder buttons. Like, it was a good controller. And I think because you had games like Halo to play with it, it was like, okay, this works. I think it worked a lot better, in my opinion, than it had any reason to, given that Microsoft had never made a console before.
I mean, I'm sure the statute of limitations has long since passed, but also the first console I modded to have a hard drive in it that would download games. Now, you had to copy them from the disc, but that was the first one that you could. Now, I did it with my own titles that I bought, of course. Yeah, so only the DVD games that I owned, I just downloaded them to back up, because it's the DVD drive in there, a little finicky in the first generation. So you had to back it up to hard drive. That way you could play your games that you owned, DCMA stuff back in the day. That was what I did. But it was great. There was a little chip that you bought online. Basically, there was Tech TV back in the day, which it was a segment by Kevin Rose of Dig fame or whatever later, I think is what he did.
Yeah.
That you could, yeah. So he had a segment when he was like a teenager, basically, of going on and modding these Xboxes. And it presented it as backup only, but it worked great. You could customize your dashboard, and you could do all kinds of stuff. Just a phenomenal. It was more like a computer. It was the first console that was legitimately, I know that the Dreamcast was supposed to be like that because it had Windows C, but didn't really have Windows C. It just kind of, the disc could load Windows C, stuff like that. Something complicated. But the first one that felt like you could have it built like a console or like a computer if you needed to.
I forgot that I owned, until right now, you mentioned Dreamcast. I forgot that I also owned a Dreamcast. So
Dreamcast was great.
It was great. It was underrated for sure. Like, definitely one of the better consoles of that gen.
But
on my side, so.
But the Sega Dreamcast, one of the biggest business blunders of all time. Two of them, because they released the Saturn early, which pissed off EA Sports. So they said, we're never going to give you a Madden title or any of these sports titles ever again. They released it for the Saturn because they had to contractually, but the Dreamcast didn't have any EA Sports titles because they annoyed by releasing the Saturn early, because Sega got spooked by the PlayStation and wanted to jump the timeline. So EA got pissed off at that. So the Dreamcast didn't have that. And then the second mistake, because the Dreamcast was great graphics, great games, but the DVD drive, not having a DVD drive in the console also really a problem there.
Dreamcast was one of my favorite consoles because, and again, like we talked about this today with exclusives and how important they are and what Xbox is doing to try to get back on the exclusive train after the bed for so many years. But I want to say, like, having exclusives back then was the reason to buy a console, and Jet Set Radio to me was the reason to buy a Dreamcast. It was and still is like one of my favorite games of all time. I loved that game. So
cell shading was so cool.
That was just so cool. Like, it had some great games. It had Crazy Taxi. It had Shenmue. It had Jet Set Radio. It was just like a fantastic system for Sega games. But I think its failure was like obviously why Sega got out of the hardware business. And I think they are better off for it now. But it still sucks that we went from basically 4 players to 3. Well, we went from like 6 players to 3 over time because like
Atari Jaguar.
Well, I owned a Commodore 64. I owned an Atari. I mean, these were all early systems, but like they mattered. They contributed to the canon of what made early consoles so successful. All that experimentation. And I think now, with the price of games, like the cost of development going so high, I understand why every publisher wants to release everything everywhere and why taking on the risk of an exclusive is a big deal and why Xbox wanted to get away from that. But then then you're basically just Sega. Like, stop producing hardware, be a publisher, and, you know, sell your movie rights to Imagination and like make your money that way. Like, go ahead. But if you actually want to compete with Sony and Nintendo, then like do a good job and have exclusives and be a reason to buy a console. Like, you can't have it both ways. And I just don't think, I think it took until this year for Microsoft to like remember that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're right. You need a reason for, I mean, PlayStation's learning this the hard way. You need a reason for people to buy your console. They all just can't be these boxes that you could just go to the store and it doesn't matter which one you have. And that's a shame that we've lost that over the years for sure. Commodore and Atari had to walk so Nintendo could run. And that's what we had.
Best game of all time? Go.
Good Lord. I you know, I'm not going to say, I know. You know, Super Mario 3. I could cop out and say that. I put so many hours in
I will
when
accept
I was 5
that
and
as an
6.
answer.
Yeah, I mean, that was one that where you could see what the Nintendo could do. There was a lot of man hours I could put into that. And I just remember the reward. We talked about rewarding. That game was very rewarding when you got to World 8 and you're beating through your way on that ship. So and it was hard and all the rest of it. So I'll go Super Mario 3.
I don't think I've ever gotten to that side of the
for you?
game. Oh,
you
mine
posed
is just,
it.
What's that?
You posed the question. Now you got.
Oh, mine is Tetris.
Oh, I like.
I'm sorry.
Listen,
it's
simple.
true. It's true. It's the best game of all time.
I like it. Simple. There's that great movie.
It's the original. I'm not saying like today's like Tetris Connected, whatever. It's all great. I'm talking about like OG Tetris on the Game Boy in the back of my parents' car on a road trip is objectively the best game of all time.
How much did it change your world when you realized you could change tracks? That there were 2 music tracks on there.
When
you went into the settings.
I don't care. There's only one.
The OG
track.
one.
I will
That's
not,
the OG
I will
one.
not hear otherwise. Is it has the copyright for that song expired yet? Because I would very much like that to be our backing track.
That could be. It just plays in the background as people just drive off the road all over the.
Okay,
that's
don't
listen.
demonetize me, Google. Don't.
Yes,
don't do it.
That was spot on. You want to say what early anxiety starts in kids our age or adults our age? When that thing started to speed up and those suckers started flying down and you didn't know what you were going to do with the next piece. Boy, that's sweating.
I was an anxious kid, but that got me locked in. I was in the zone when that music started speeding up. I was like, okay, bring it on, level 9. I was a level 10, like, shark.
I love it. You were built for the lights early.
I was basically a savant, like a Tetris savant when I was younger.
It had to
lost
come
it.
from somewhere.
Now, you know that game that they released for the Switch called Tetris 99? Have you ever played that?
Yes, I did early on when that was a big thing. My wife got me into that because she loves Tetris. She played like the N64 Tetrises, which is okay. And Tetris 99. I couldn't, it was tough.
That was humbling, I gotta say. As somebody who thinks he's good at Tetris, I tried playing that. It is impossible to win a round of Tetris 99. Like, I have no idea. I've read back when it came out, like I read every single help guide and watched every single video on how to do well, and I still never went above like 25 in the rankings.
It's tough.
It's
tough.
I gotta tell you.
Those guys can go.
You know what else is humbling? Siri AI. See what I did there?
What is that? Was great. That's humbling for sure. Woo.
All right. So this week, we're recording this Friday. Obviously, WWDC's keynote was Monday, so you've all heard the spiel already, I'm sure. But let's walk through what your thoughts were on the keynote. This was a different keynote for sure. It was weird. It was short. It had almost no platform announcements to speak of, other than like fixing the radii on Mac OS. But what were your initial thoughts on Siri AI, and like, have you tried it? Like, where are you at with it?
I have not downloaded iOS 27 yet. I want to. I was curious to talk. Well, two things. I wanted to ask you two questions, actually. The consensus on the internet seemed to be that this was a pretty bad keynote and just a bad vibe. Like, just the whole thing was off, number one.
Okay.
Number two.
Interesting.
Right. Number two, do you agree, we talked about this a little bit. Do you buy Apple's explanation where it's like, well, we waited for people to do the hard work for us, so we waited till AI to get good. Well, then why are you marketing the iPhone 16 as built for Apple Intelligence, and then you really didn't have anything there? I don't know if I bought Apple's explanation for why it's behind as kind of like, hey, we waited till it was good, or like all these people built it up for us, and now we get to use it. And I don't know how much of Apple's own stuff is in there, because a lot of this just seems like Gemini to me. So I was just curious to see what your thoughts were watching at home.
Yeah, I thought when they had kind of, so they did their like falling on the sword for the liquid glass mistakes and the problems
you
with
love
Tahoe, which true, like they basically did their version of an apology, which in terms of Apple is a big deal. But I think they weren't going to say, oh, you've been waiting 2 years for this, we messed up again and we're sorry. Like, they were basically like, we made these announcements in 2024, and we are still, like, we're following through with those announcements. That's what I interpreted it as. Like, the thing that Siri AI is today, or what it will be when it's released this fall, is more or less what they announced 2 years ago. But what they announced 2 years ago was vaporware. Like, they had no actual product. There was no capability. The foundation models that they had built were not capable of doing the things that their marketing team promised. So in one sense, like, even though the AI industry has far surpassed what was shown 2 years ago, the fact that Apple is shipping this thing and it is working and it does the thing that it promises to do, which is basically reproduce ChatGPT on your phone, is a good thing, because OpenAI and Anthropic and whatever other model you're using on your computer have access to your file system. But if you open the ChatGPT app or the Gemini app on your phone, they don't have access to any of that stuff. They don't have access to your email. They don't have access to your iMessages. They don't have access to your calendar. They got nothing. You can give them access if you want to, but they'll still never have access to everything. And the beauty of Siri AI is that it is ChatGPT, but for all the stuff that Apple knows about you, which is a lot. And there's a couple of things, right? One is that sounds great in theory if you use iMessage and Apple Mail and Safari and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera, right?
Right.
But I don't use my iPhone that way. I don't use Safari. I don't use Apple Mail. I don't, I use iMessage because I have to. It's the Messages app.
Right, exactly.
But like, I don't give Apple a lot of my data. So the interesting thing about this is, will I get a better experience using Gemini on my iPhone as an app because Google knows more about me and I can access that information from the cloud in the Gemini app over Apple having Siri built in, but I don't give it any of that information because A, it's local to that device because of privacy, and B, because I'm not in the Apple ecosystem, I'm in the Google ecosystem. So I don't know. It's weird. Like, if you are all in on Apple, it's going to be great. If you're somewhat in on Apple, it's still going to be great because you can get insight into your calendar and your messages from like 4 years ago that you forgot. Oh, find this thing in Photos, right? It's all there, but it relies on you kind of acquiescing to the way that Apple wants you to use their products. And I just suspect that most people today, especially us, like people who don't live and breathe the Apple ecosystem entirely, don't work that way. We just don't live in that world. So we'll see. I don't know. It remains to be seen. What I've heard, though, is the index, the thing that Apple rebuilt in order to make all this AI search possible, the fact that they've redesigned Spotlight from the ground up to just be a more efficient database, is the thing that is going to make Siri better. But it also means that if you don't enable Siri or you don't use any of the AI stuff, it's still going to be better to use Spotlight on your iPhone and your Mac. And to me, that is just like a win.
Yeah, I mean, it gets back to whether it works or not, right? I mean, I've heard this stuff before. It's a lot of you're seeing the multimodal stuff now come to the iPhone. I just don't. I've just seen it before. I saw it with Samsung saying that the multimodal and whatever else and Galaxy AI was going to transform my user experience with Now Brief and all these other things that didn't come true. I've seen it now with Google at the latest I/O. Daily Brief. Some people like it. I don't. I think it's just a summary of whatever. And Magic Queue and all these things that I was really excited about and Google's roadmap, which sound really great, but aren't quite there yet. So if Apple's able to deliver, if they're the one that can somehow deliver using a lot of the Gemini backbone on these things that we haven't seen from other companies yet, then, well, good for them. And yes, it will help if you are an Apple ecosystem person, you're all in on the Apple ecosystem. Will it transform your user experience? Probably, if it's exactly as they describe. I guess I'm jaded at this point, which I don't trust the company that's dead last bringing all this to market, that's not proven to me that their software or chops are still there, that they're going to be the ones to crack this. If they do, great. It'll be great. It'll be a reason why you buy an iPhone, and it might make AI, some of this stuff, usable on a consumer level. But I got to see it. I'm sorry. I'm at this point where I just got to see it. I got to see it. I can't trust any of these presentations and things.
It's interesting, too, because I think Apple has made the iPhone and the Mac and largely all of its products desirable in spite of its cloud services, right? Nobody uses iCloud because it's great, right? Nobody uses it because it provides a ton of value. Nobody uses
100%.
their like Pages or Sheets, or what's it called? Pages or Numbers. Nobody uses that stuff. It's there, but it's not the best. It's just free if you buy a Mac or an iPhone. GarageBand, right? Like, that's all good. It's fine. It's nice having iMovie. It's nice having GarageBand available to you. But nobody's going out of their way. You can buy Final Cut Pro if you want. You can buy their new Creator bundle, which includes Pixelmator and Photomator. But like, these are acquired companies that are being integrated. Nothing Apple has built natively for creativity and productivity has been like the top of the line for years. What they provide is an all-in-one solution that does most things pretty well. And I think in the absence of an iPhone with a functioning Siri AI product, it does not impact iPhone sales. But what it does is it gives OpenAI and Anthropic and particularly Google an inroad into attacking Apple for its lack of a platform for which AI can at least like have a competitive shot. And that is unacceptable to Apple, right? So Apple doesn't have to make the best AI product. It just has to make a product that complements the hardware that they want you to buy. And they want people not to be mad that Siri is so terrible anymore. Like, brass tacks, that's all they have to do. And if they occasionally delight somebody because they use visual, like, what's that thing called? Visual Studio, not Visual Studio.
I know what you're talking about, though. What the heck is it? You're right. Where is it? Visual
intelligence.
Right.
If they delight somebody like once in a while because you were able to use visual intelligence to like show you where in the world some Instagram photo is, or if you're able to chain together a bunch of commands like, hey, where did I meet John for lunch? Okay, well, send him an email and then book the like create a calendar invite and set and invite him. Like, if you can chain together those very basic tasks, I think that'll be enough for people. But where that stops is, okay, then go and book it on OpenTable, or call the company or call the restaurant to book it on my behalf.
Right.
Or like go see if that campground has any availability for July 5th, and then go like all this agentic stuff that a year ago we started hearing Jensen Wong talking about, and like and Sundar Pichai and everybody else talking about how agentic would change the game. Apple is barely even there. The only agentic thing it announced was this proactive password changing thing, which is great. Absolutely fantastic. If you have bad passwords, you will allow Safari to go in and make those changes on your behalf. Beautiful. That is a very good use of agentic code. But it is a single use case in a world where Anthropic's cowork can basically run your entire life. But I don't think most consumers, most iPhone users have any idea what that stuff means yet, because I didn't have any idea what this meant like a month ago. So it's just like, I think from a timing perspective, this is not a bad thing for Apple. It's weird that it's only launching in beta in the fall. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's strange for them, especially for them. Yeah. 2 years, you can't have a product ready by the fall for something that, that's bizarre.
Do you remember do you remember when they announced the iPhone 7 Plus and it had the second camera and they had portrait mode, and portrait mode was in beta for like 8 months?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. But no, I think you nailed it. And I think that you're right. It's kind of pulling the wool over people's eyes, and iPhone users who have never used anything else in their lives, or at least in the last 20-something years, that they're going to see that bit that's like, hey, pull up the information for Sam and start an email saying I'd like to have lunch. Right. That's the stuff, like you said. That's the stuff that literally might take me 5 minutes. That's the beginning stuff. But the actual grunt work of me calling the place, finding availability, all this stuff, I'm not going to trust with AI just yet, and it's not going to do it right. I'm going to be sitting there trying to figure out what I want to say to it to get the result that I want, but I'm going to wind up doing it anyway. So the back-end stuff, that's the stuff that's I'm going to have to get on the phone with somebody or whatever else, is not being handled for me. So as much as it's going to seem like magic to iOS users who are basically been in the dark for 2 years, great. But you're right. That's all they had to do. Get something that felt somewhat functional to somebody who's never used anything else, never used Gemini, never used ChatGPT, and just could push the little hold down the Siri button and say, hey, pull up Sam's phone number, and it does it successfully. And you're like, whoa, you're right. That's all they had to ship. And and it took them 2 years to get to that, but that's right.
I mean, the commercial that remember they came out with that a commercial with Bella Ramsey at WWDC where she was at a party and she couldn't remember this guy's name, so she like asked her
Right.
iPhone what the guy's name is. She's like, Siri, pull up the name of that guy. Oh, don't actually do it. He's like, pull up the name of that guy from the party, and then like as he was walking over, it's like, hey John, like that's great, and I think now that stuff will work. And insofar as that, and like okay, there's also this other part of it which we haven't really seen yet because developers haven't been able to build on it. But remember, they announced the App Intents API back in 2024. That all is still there. So in a world where developers are plugging in to Siri AI and they're actually like participating in the process, then we get to a point where, I talked about how Google owns my whole like information life. In a world where Gmail is plugging into Siri and I can ask Siri to search my Gmail, then that will be great. But I don't know if Google wants that. Like, does Google want me to obviate the need to open my Gmail app?
That's a good point.
Is it okay? Like, yes, there are Gmail clients, and ostensibly Gmail is just like an IMAP SMTP server at the back end that you can use with whatever. But like, Google would very much prefer that you still use the official Google app. Same with Google Maps, right? Like, is it in Google's best interest to give, like, if the end of the day you're going to end up opening the Google Map, the Google Maps app through Siri because you're asking for directions, and you can pick a default Maps app and it'll just like, okay, like or same with Google Calendar, right? Google Calendar is a protocol, but it is also a service where you can do things like create to-dos and host birthdays and whatever, right? Is it in these developers' best interest to compete for that space? Similarly, I don't know, you're calling, you want to order an Uber, and you say like, call an Uber to Siri, but you don't have the Uber app installed or whatever. Uber doesn't participate. Does it automatically open the Lyft app if Lyft participates? Does it ask you, hey,
That would
we don't
wow.
have, but like Uber's not participating in this service. Do you want to open the Lyft app instead? I could order it directly for you. Like, I don't know. Maybe. Is that a good user experience? Does Apple want people to see that kind of disparity? It's sort of like in the early days of live activities when some apps didn't support it and some apps did. And you would be like, well, like, I don't know where this information is. And you have to open the app to find it. Or it would be like a persistent notification, but it wouldn't be a live activity. So I don't know. It remains to be seen whether this will be like an advantage for developers or not. And I can't say one way or the other yet.
No, you're right. That's a tough question. That's a tough question with that. It should be interesting to see what people come up with that have some sort of incentive to do so. But it should be interesting. But there were two things that there are two other things, just non-AI, that I brought away from WWDC. I love that. I do love that for all the criticism for Apple. I do love the fact that iPhone 15 is iPhone 11, I should say, is still supported. Yeah. They've always done a good job on legacy hardware, and it's good to see that continuing. And I do like. I'm not somebody that's going to bash the company for really not innovating a whole lot on iOS 27. I think it was good that the company had a year where they're like, listen, we're just going to, iOS 26 was a lot going on. You mentioned the liquid glass stuff, that we just take a step back, refine what we did, and just go back to creating this solid user experience, software experience that we've always had for the last however long. So I'm fine with that. iOS 27, I don't care that it wasn't flashy. Fix what you had to fix. Fix liquid glass, fix the back end stuff, fix some of the stuff, the annoying bugs that always aggravated me. I think it was good that Apple just kind of had a reflection year to work on some of this stuff that they needed to work on, and I think that was fine for that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the big points that they came out with for the platforms were like apps will open faster, files will send more quickly, you'll have fewer bugs. These are all excellent. And I think the snow leopard of it all is what people were looking for after a big change in iOS 26. I think the the other side of the coin is like Apple is trying to make AI into a platform on top of its platforms, and it can't really make any of like it can't make any big flashy features until it's established where AI sits in that layer. And I think they'll need a year's worth of data of how people use Siri. Are they replacing app experiences with just like using Siri as a chatbot? I don't know. But if that's true, if they want to sort of recreate the ChatGPT experience on their phone, then they may have to adjust their plans for how they support the third-party app ecosystem down the road. Are people spending as much money as they used to in app because they're spending it outside of these apps? That's kind of always been how Apple makes its money on the services side, through that 30% cut. And they're not going to do that unless they still have people opening the apps and spending time in buying Candy Crush credits or whatever. So I don't know. We'll see.
That's interesting, though. But you brought up a good point. It's Apple's so far behind on AI that they're probably just getting to the point that we were with Android a few years ago. Are we going to get to the point where the iOS version upgrades aren't going to be the headline? Like, that's not going to be the driver of innovation and new features, that it's going to be Siri AI updates, and the iOS updates are just going to be kind of back-end API stuff, kind of like where we are with Android now, where 15, 16, 17 doesn't matter as much as it used to, whereas Gemini updates and Galaxy AI updates are the headline advertising feature things. That's where the big stuff's going to come in, and it's just iOS versions are just going to be like, hey, this is back-end stuff, this is nuts and bolts stuff.
Well, it might be less that you're getting iOS updates that have fewer features, more that you're getting features that are increasingly siloed to particular phone generations, right? Because that's what we're already seeing. We're seeing it on the Pixel side and the Galaxy side on Android, and we're seeing it now. Like you talked about Apple supporting the iPhone 11 with iOS 27, but the iPhone 16 is not getting most of the new Siri AI features because it doesn't have enough RAM. So like the contrast there is, yes, you're getting iOS 27, and sure, like your AirDrops will be faster on your iPhone 11, but you're not, the thing that they advertised as Apple Intelligence, built for Apple Intelligence, the iPhone 16, is not getting the iOS 27 features that the iPhone 17 and 18 will get. Like that part to me is just what's so mind-blowing, that your Apple Watch Ultra, the one from like 2022, is not getting
$900, whatever it is, $1,000, whatever you paid.
It's crazy. Like I understand it in the sense that Apple, in order to pull off a lot of this private cloud compute hybrid model, local versus the edge thing, needs a lot of RAM, and that if your device does not have 12 gigs of RAM, it will be too slow. And we've seen this on the Pixel side because they tried to bring some of the Gemini Nano stuff to the Pixel 8, and it was so slow that I think Google regretted it. So they are in a tough position because right now you have RAM prices that are 100 times what, or not 100, but like 10, 20 times what they were a couple of years ago. Putting 12 gigs of RAM in a phone that's going to cost less than $1,000 is basically impossible. So your iPhone 17 doesn't get some Siri OS or AI features. That's a brand new phone, and that was true of the previous generation as well. And you'll, I think, increasingly get this bifurcation in the smartphone ecosystem of your Pro device will get Pro AI features and your regular device will get non-Pro features. But on Android, at least, Google can send everything to the cloud if it needs to. The response time may be slower and you may not have as much privacy, but you'll have that choice. On Apple, they won't allow that. They just cannot, they won't allow that disparity because of their privacy policy and the way that they've built private cloud compute. So I don't know. It just feels like increasingly the iPhone will be split into the AI haves and the have-nots, and people will just have to decide if they want to spend that extra money.
You nailed it, and that was the thing I've written about before a lot when we started getting into this RAM discussion with the Pixel 8 and some of these other things. Give me the choice. Like, that's how you can advertise your phones going forward. But give me the choice. If I want to offload some of that computing to the cloud, and it's slower, and it's painfully slow, and it's less private and less secure, like you're mentioning, that's the choice that I get to make. So Apple, I would like that choice. Now, if it gets too slow and I really find that those features and stuff that I need to do is mission critical, well, that's on me to upgrade then. That's the reason why you could say, like you said, you can have the pro features. This is why you get the pro phone, because you get XYZ and you get these other things. But A, the features have to be impressive enough for me to want to do that in the first place. They have to really be an integral part of my user experience, which we're not there yet. Mm-hmm. And B, I want that choice. If I want to live with slow cloud computing, that's on me. But, and you know, like with Google, you get the choice a lot of times. I want Apple to provide that choice, but like you said, they're just not going to do it. I doubt that they would do that.
The other part too to consider is not just the fact that local, like in order to pull off local compute, you need a lot of RAM. If you're sending more requests to the cloud, it requires more tokens, which requires more cloud compute, which is more expensive. So everything local is saving Apple money. Or saving Google money, right? Saving Samsung money. And I think that is also another factor here. As compute gets more expensive, and we've seen this with Fable 5 this week from Anthropic, where you're spending something crazy like $600 an hour on, you know, on per minute use or per token usage credits. Like Apple said in the keynote, there will be, unless you have an iCloud Plus subscription, you will have some usage limits on things like photo creation. Take that 5 years from now, when there's still a compute crunch and we're generating AI slop videos all the time, right? If your phone can't do it, those tokens are going to be wasted in the cloud, and you're just going to have this like you're just going to have to spend money. And Apple doesn't want to put its customers in that position the way that Anthropic and OpenAI are willing to do, because they're now targeting the enterprise. So OpenAI charging me $20 a month to do a bunch of agentic coding is very different than they were asking for 2 years ago, charging $20 a month to get higher access limits on their chat. Like, nobody wants to spend that money just to chat better. And I think Google has found a pretty good compromise by bundling all of its AI into its Google One subscription. So like you have higher AI usage limits, but you also get more storage. You get YouTube Premium Lite. You get Fitbit Premium. You get like all of this other stuff that makes the subscription worth $20 a month. And Apple won't be able to pull that off until it, like, I think needs to put its AI usage in Apple One, because to me, that's the only subscription that makes sense. I don't want to spend money on iCloud Plus. I want to spend money on, I guess, like Apple One does come with iCloud stuff in it. But like,
give me that Apple Music discount. Give me all these things. The Apple Arcade. Give me package all these things together and give me a number. I
give it a year or two before they're putting AI usage inside the Apple One subscription. Like 100%. It's already like I can't unsubscribe from it, because I use it. I use all of it. I use Apple TV. I use Apple Music. I use Apple Arcade. All of my backups over the years have gone over the 15 gigabyte limit that they give us. Is it still 5 gigs? I don't even remember what the.
No, I don't know, but you're right. I could never. That is one subscription that if they raised it to like $100 a month, I'd have to sit there and seriously think about it, because I don't know how many pictures I'd lose. I don't know how many, whatever. Just basically, That has been a rolling, repository of stuff over the last 20 years that I don't even want to comprehend having to get rid of that.
And going back to the original discussion of like why Siri AI is a big deal is because exactly that. Apple is the only company that has access to that history. No other company will be able to go back through your photos for 20 years and pull out that one from like your Chicago bachelor party that you got super drunk at and you couldn't remember what drink you were having. Like, come on. Like, that was me.
Was
that was not.
Did we just get an insight there? Whoa. What was it? Whoa. Did we just, whoa, that was a little too on the nose. What are we doing there? What was that? Was this, did we get another Daniel story?
It's
story time with Daniel?
Happened. No, you don't want that story. There was a dueling piano and a lot of very long curly straws.
Oh, no.
That's all I will say.
Oh, no.
I've
learned a lot
given
about you on
so
this show.
I've already given so much of my personal life on this show. Like, I admitted to bringing porn to school when I was like 15 years old.
Audio porn.
It amounts to the same thing, I guess. But I'm just like, I'm an open book. If you want to learn more about me, we can do this the easy way, or you can do this the pay me $5 a month way, and I'll go as deep as you want. That sounds so
The
bad.
Patreon?
I'm
Is that the
sorry.
Patreon tier? Is that the Patreon tier?
The OnlyFans tier of old school.
Used to be Will's feet,
right.
and now it's Daniel's stories.
Ugh, no feet, please, no feet. Okay, let's close this out. What are your
Let's do it.
What are your other impressions of the week? What are the vibes like?
The vibes are good. This is something we could talk about next time. But wearing my Pebble Time 2, it finally arrived. Love it.
I got mine too. Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah, I love it. So that's been really, I've been enjoying that this week, kind of getting back to. I love the fact that it's backwards compatible. I'm using a watch face from 2015 that I used on my original black and white one. It's a lot of fun, and that's what I want to see more of, and that's stuff that we'll talk about. But that's really been, I've really been enjoying that. The Pebble Time 2, highly recommend. You won't want to wear a Wear OS device again, really, I think, as far as I'm concerned.
My favorite thing is that I have a My Neighbor Totoro watch face, and it's just like I just stare at it. It's just like a monochrome Totoro, but it's fantastic.
Love it.
I love it.
Beautiful
all right.
display.
That's going to be our show, Steven. Hopefully we have all the footage, because this was a bit of a connectivity problem.
Yeah.
I
was roading it through my Palm Pilot the whole time, so that was the problem.
I have to call my ISP to tell them to stop. I pay so much money for my internet every month, and it's still so unreliable. And it's fiber. It's fiber to the home. It's got a
fiber.
What I'm gonna do.
Well,
anyway,
all right.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Rather, enjoy the weather. Enjoy the Knicks winning tonight.
Yes, yeah. Tomorrow, yeah. Knicks winning. Yeah, should be good.
Oh, I'm not here next week. I'm retiring on my SpaceX proceeds. So,
oh my God,
you're gonna have to find a new co-host.
Did you get some? Did you get some? Were you selected?
I'm the world's second trillionaire now.
Oh, really? How much did you? Aren't they like it was like blockchain randomly signed blocks? Like I saw somebody got 74 shit. Like how did that work exactly?
I have no idea, but I saw that it's up. It's up like 25% today.
Ooh.
So people made money today. That's for sure.
People made money. Send some this way. Donations at
the bubble guys.
Old school podcast.
Mangoes is the new thing. That's what we're saying. Mangoes is the new thing. Look it up. All right, folks.
You have a good one.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.